Today, we're diving into the first chapter of Quest for Immortality. Close your eyes and imagine a world where secrets are more dangerous than swords. That's the world we're stepping into today. In this episode, you'll meet a character whose life changes with one fateful decision. Let's see how their journey begins. Now let's settle in, turn the page, and dive into the world of Quest for Immortality. They say home is where the heart is, but for me, home was a prison, a sanctuary of fear. My name is Rose Oninga, and I haven't stepped outside in 3 years. Not because I'm afraid of people or the world. It's what I see when I step out that terrifies me. To everyone else, the world is normal. But to me, it's 4003, a world of advanced technology and immortality, a future I've lived in but can't explain to anyone. It started subtly. At first, I thought I was just daydreaming or having vivid hallucinations. But the more I saw, the more I realized this wasn't my imagination. I wasn't just seeing the future. I was living in it. Yet here I am, in the present, pretending to be an ordinary girl locked away in her room. Mom and Mark don't understand. How could they? Mark tries. He'll knock on my door, like he did earlier today. Rose, he called. Are you coming out today? It's sunny, you know. Might do you some good. I ignored him at first, tracing the edge of my journal with my fingers. It's an old, worn book where I've written everything. Notes about the future, sketches of the cities I've seen, even equations I don't fully understand, but somehow know are important. Rose, he called again. What are you doing in there? I snapped the journal shut. Nothing. Just go away, Mark. He cracked the door open, his face peeking through like an annoying little brother who didn't know when to quit. You're talking to yourself again, he said, his tone half concerned, half annoyed. Mom's worried. So am I. I sighed, knowing he wouldn't leave until I said something. Mark, I'm fine. I just need space. Please. He lingered for a moment before retreating. Fine. But this isn't healthy, Rose. You need help. He's right, of course. But how do you explain to someone that you're living 2 lives at once? That you have a family in the future who depends on you just as much as the one here does? You don't. You stay quiet. You keep it to yourself. I've spent countless hours studying the future, trying to understand it. The quest for immortality, they call it. In 4003, aging is a choice. Science has advanced to the point where people can live indefinitely if they want to. My future mother is a leading scientist in longevity research, and she's the one who first explained it to me. Rose, she said, her voice calm and methodical. Do you know why we age? Because our cells get tired? I asked like the curious child I was. She smiled. Partly. But it's also because of how our bodies are programmed. Aging is a biological process, but what if we could rewrite that program? Back then, her words felt like a riddle. Now they haunt me. Immortality isn't just a concept in the future. It's a reality. Cryonics, gene editing, AI-driven medicine, they've perfected it all. But here in the present, it's still just a dream. Or maybe a nightmare. The human desire for eternal life is as old as time itself. I've read about it in history books and seen it play out in the future. People have always wanted to cheat death, to cling to life for as long as possible. It's in our nature. My future brother, Eli, once told me, even ancient civilizations had myths about immortality. The fountain of youth, the philosopher's stone. Humans have always been obsessed with living forever. But at what cost? That's the question that keeps me up at night. What's the point of living forever if you're alone? If you lose everyone you love? I remember the first time I asked my future father that question. Immortality isn't just about living forever, he said. It's about living better. Imagine a world where no one suffers from age-related diseases, where everyone has the time to achieve their dreams. But wouldn't people get bored? I asked. He chuckled. Perhaps. But that's a problem we'll solve when we get there. The future isn't just a vision. It's a sensory overload. When I step outside, the air doesn't smell like fresh grass or rain. It's sterile, tinged with the faint hum of machines. The sky isn't blue. It's a shimmering canvas of holographic projections. People move differently, their steps precise, their faces unreadable behind translucent visors. I've walked these streets, felt the smooth metal of futuristic railings, heard the whisper of AI guiding the crowd. But here, in this present, everything feels muted. It's like I'm living in grayscale while the future is bursting with color. Back in the present, I lie on my bed, staring at the ceiling. The future is perfect, but it's also empty. And I'm caught in between, living in both worlds, but belonging to neither. Except, there's a part of me that doubts the perfection I see. My future parents are cautious, always shielding me from certain truths. Once, I overheard a conversation between my future mother and father. "She doesn't need to know everything," my mother had said. "Not yet. But she'll find out eventually," my father argued. "We can't keep her in the dark forever." I didn't ask them about it. I didn't want to. Maybe the future isn't as flawless as it seems. Maybe the perfection is just a facade, hiding something darker. For now, all I have are questions. But what is there to change if I don't know much about the future? I will just observe and note down everything, because I'm lucky enough to have been given a chance for cell research awakening next month. On the awakening day, all young people pass through the awakening stage, which starts at the age of 14, and late bloomers at 20. I'm 16 years old and not yet awakened, still waiting. It's another mystery that binds me to the future. A ritual I know so little about but feel destined to experience. I wonder sometimes if the awakening will answer my questions, or only bring more. What if this milestone I've waited for all my life reveals truths I'm not ready to face? I imagine standing in the sterile halls of some futuristic lab, surrounded by faces both familiar and strange, my future family watching with guarded expressions. Will I finally understand why I'm tethered to this dual existence? Or will the awakening shatter what little sense of normalcy I have left? Mark's voice echoes in my head, his concern genuine despite his exasperation. "This isn't healthy, Rose." Maybe it isn't. But how can I leave when every step outside plunges me deeper into a world that shouldn't exist yet? For now, I'll stay. I'll write. I'll dream. Because if the future is real, and I know it is, then my time in the present might be the only chance I have to change it. My parents once told me I failed the first awakening because I had a weak constitution. However, I don't have that memory. It feels like a story I've been told about someone else entirely. This time, my mother keeps urging my father to retake my blood for the upcoming awakening, but he hesitates. There's a worry in his eyes, something heavy and unspoken that we all pretend not to notice. Last night, I caught them arguing in the kitchen. Their voices were low, but the tension was unmistakable. "She's not ready," my father said, his tone sharper than I'd ever heard. "She has to be," my mother replied, her words cutting through the silence like a blade. "Do you want her to live like this forever? Stuck between two worlds, afraid to step outside?" He paused, and I could hear the weight of his sigh. "I don't want her to end up like the others." Others? My heart raced as I pressed my ear closer to the door. Who were they talking about? Before I could hear more, the floor creaked beneath me, and the conversation stopped. When my mother opened the door moments later, her face was calm, but her eyes betrayed her. "Rose, shouldn't you be asleep?" she asked, her voice unnaturally gentle. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak, and retreated to my room. The questions kept me awake for hours. What did she mean by the others? Were there other late bloomers like me? And what happened to them? I glanced at the journal on my desk, the pages filled with fragments of a life I didn't fully understand. Maybe the answers were there, hidden between the sketches and equations. Or maybe the awakening would finally make everything clear. For now, all I could do was wait, and hope that when the day came, I'd be ready for whatever truths it revealed. In the days following their argument, I began to notice things, small and insignificant on their own, but together, they painted a picture of unease. My father started coming home later than usual, his shoulders heavy with exhaustion, his briefcase clutched tighter than normal. He avoided eye contact at dinner, retreating to his study as soon as he was done. My mother, on the other hand, became uncharacteristically attentive. She'd linger in my room longer than necessary, smoothing out imaginary wrinkles on my bed, or straightening the books on my shelf. "Is everything okay?" I asked her once, unable to bear the tension any longer. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Of course, sweetheart. Why wouldn't it be?" I wanted to believe her, but the tightness in her voice betrayed her. That night, I decided to find out for myself what they were hiding. It was well past midnight when I crept out of my room, the house silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator. My father's study door was ajar, a sliver of light spilling into the dark hallway. I tiptoed closer, my heart pounding, and peered inside. But the real question remained. What had gone so wrong in the first loop that it led my family into this endless cycle of desperation? I had to find out. Chapter 2. The Immortality Equation. The quest for immortality has always walked hand in hand with technological advancements. If my family's creation of the awakening device revealed anything, it was the intricate role science played in shaping our understanding of life and its potential extension. Every time loop seemed to amplify their focus on blending biology and cutting-edge technology, ensuring that the next attempt brought us closer to the ultimate goal, cheating death itself. I scoured my father's journals, which contained meticulous calculations, sketches of unfamiliar devices, and theories about the convergence of physics, biology, and metaphysics. The handwriting was frantic at times, almost as if he feared someone else might discover the equations before we did. Central to it all was one phrase: the immortality equation. It wasn't just science. It was the blueprint for survival, a way to defy the time loop and the magistral. The role of artificial intelligence in immortality became glaringly evident as I dove deeper into the records left by my family. Artificial intelligence emerged not merely as a tool, but as an ally, shaping the future in ways humans alone couldn't achieve. Through the videos I unearthed, I saw AI systems in the future leagues ahead of anything we had in the present, capable of understanding the complexities of the human body down to its atomic structure. In the future, these systems weren't just computers. They were partners in humanity's journey toward eternity. Through one video, my future mother stood before a translucent screen where a glowing AI avatar spoke in a calm, human-like voice. "What you seek is achievable," it assured her. "But it requires precise calibration of quantum states and the synchronization of temporal fields." AI wasn't just supporting the process. It was steering it, solving problems at speeds humans couldn't comprehend. It was evident AI also played a profound role in life extension research. By analyzing trillions of genetic sequences, AI identified mutations that accelerated aging and countered them with targeted interventions. This wasn't guesswork. It was precision engineering at a cellular level. My father even designed something called Eve's algorithm, named after me, to map pathways to immortality. "It's crazy they named an algorithm after you," I muttered, flipping through the blueprints. My younger brother teased, "Guess you're the chosen one, huh?" But the weight of that title was heavy, and I could feel it. Eve's algorithm wasn't just a scientific project. It was the culmination of a lifetime spent wondering if life could be more than just fleeting moments strung together. Maybe it's because I grew up reading sci-fi novels and watching movies where immortality was always just a discovery away. Maybe it's because deep down, I've always believed that nature hides answers in plain sight, waiting for someone brave or desperate enough to find them. It started with the immortal jellyfish. Imagine a creature so unassuming, yet capable of defying death by reverting its cells to a younger state. It wasn't immortality in the fairy tale sense, no magical fountain or elixir, but a biological marvel, a clue that the limits of life weren't as rigid as we'd always believed. If a jellyfish could reset its clock, why couldn't we? I dove into research, running tests on lab rats to explore how these principles might apply to more complex organisms. I studied creatures that lived extraordinary lifespans, like Greenland sharks and tortoises, dissecting the mechanisms behind their longevity. The answer, I realized, lay in the blood, specifically in how blood cells regenerated and adapted. By enhancing their ability to repair and replenish, I found a way to supercharge the immune system, making it not only fight off diseases, but also resist the cellular decay that comes with age. But the breakthrough wasn't just biological. It was philosophical. Immortality couldn't simply mean existing forever. It had to mean thriving forever. That's where the algorithm came in, a system that could adapt, learn, and evolve alongside the body. I imagined a world where we weren't tethered to phones, laptops, or gadgets. What if we could be born with technology embedded in us? A neural AI, seamlessly integrated into our very being. This AI wouldn't just monitor our health, it would optimize it, tweaking cellular processes and repairing damage before it even occurred. I called it Eve's algorithm because, in a way, it felt like a rebirth, a second chance not just for individuals, but for humanity. But creating it wasn't easy. Each iteration was a battle against time, against failure, against the fear that maybe we weren't meant to live forever. I upgraded the algorithm with what I called exilers, chemical waveforms that accelerated healing, enhanced mental clarity, and slowed the aging process. Every success felt like magic, but it was rooted in meticulous science. Yet there was always a cost. The more I understood about life, the more I questioned its meaning. Was immortality worth the risks, the sacrifices, the secrecy? And then there was the moral question. If we could live forever, should we? Eve's algorithm became more than a tool. It became a symbol of hope and a burden of responsibility. It wasn't just about extending life. It was about redefining what it meant to truly live. And for better or worse, it became the legacy my family and I carried into every time loop, every choice, every moment of this impossible journey. But the deeper I delved into Eve's algorithm, the heavier the moral weight became. Immortality wasn't just a question of could we but should we. The technology could change everything, erase disease and suffering, give people more time. But at what cost? I often found myself staring at my reflection late at night, the faint glow of the lab equipment behind me. What if this isn't the gift I think it is? I whispered, more to myself than anyone else. My neural AI assistant, soft-spoken and ever-present, replied in its calm tone. The gift of life comes with the price of choice, Rose. And choice is rarely without consequence. Its words haunted me. The question wasn't just about achieving immortality, but about who would get to access it. Would it be a privilege for the few, or a birthright for all? The rich and powerful would undoubtedly seize control of it first, wouldn't they? Could we risk creating a world where the wealthy became eternal rulers while the rest of humanity suffered under their reign? There was also the fear of what immortality might do to us as people. Would living forever strip life of its meaning? Would we stop valuing moments, relationships, or even ourselves if there was no endpoint to mark their significance? One night, as I combed through another layer of data on cellular regeneration, my mother came into the lab. She placed a hand on my shoulder, her face shadowed by a mix of pride and concern. "Rose," she said softly, "you've always had a gift for seeing the future in ways no one else can. But the future isn't just about what we can create. It's about what we can live with. Do you think I've gone too far?" I asked, my voice cracking under the weight of her words. She sighed, her expression unreadable. "It's not about far or near. It's about whether we can hold on to our humanity while chasing what feels like salvation." Her words stayed with me, embedding themselves in my thoughts as I refined the algorithm. The lines blurred between saving lives and playing God. Then there was the looming reality of the magistral, the entity that controlled the awakening process. They already held terrifying power over life and death. If they found out about Eve's algorithm, it wouldn't just be our lives on the line. It could mean the end of humanity's freedom. My father once told me that absolute power corrupts absolutely. And now, I was holding the key to that absolute power. And what about the time loops? If immortality meant escaping this endless cycle, was it worth the cost of disrupting the natural order of existence? I didn't know if we were breaking rules we didn't understand, or if this was simply the next evolution of life. The nights grew longer, the questions heavier. My neural AI assistant often reminded me, "Rose, you are asking the questions that matter. That is the sign of progress." But progress felt more like a burden than a gift. In the quiet moments, I thought of the people I might save, the children robbed of life too soon, the families torn apart by illness. But I also thought of the systems this could destroy, the balance it could tip irrevocably. And more than once, I wondered if immortality was even ours to take. Predictive diagnostics guided by AI eradicated diseases before they could take hold. In another video, I saw a demonstration of a medical nanobot controlled by an AI interface repairing damaged tissues in real time. The possibilities seemed infinite. Yet the wrong hands could wield such technology catastrophically, a fact my parents seemed acutely aware of as they worked in secrecy. Nanotechnology emerged as a bridge between science and the mystical idea of eternal life. My family's time loops always involved variations of nanotech research, especially nanobots for cellular repair. These tiny machines entered cells to identify and repair damage from within. Designs for these bots resembled spirals, mimicking biological enzymes, rebuilding what time had broken. The advancements seemed miraculous, almost magical. But genetic engineering pushed the boundaries even further. CRISPR and other gene editing technologies allowed for precise alterations in DNA. My family believed reprogramming our genes could defy death itself. References to experiments removed harmful mutations and enhanced cellular regeneration. Telomeres, the protective caps on the ends of chromosomes, became another area of focus. By activating telomerase, my family believed life could be extended indefinitely. I stumbled upon a journal entry from my mother, which struck a nerve. The key isn't just in extending life, but in preserving memory and identity. What use is eternal life if the soul is lost in the process? This was the crux of my research, not just creating immortal bodies, but ensuring the essence of who we were remained intact. Each discovery brought me closer to understanding the complexities of my actions, the weight of my choices, and the terrifying possibilities that lay ahead. Rose, my father called, pulling me from my thoughts. We need to prepare. The next step isn't safe. His voice trembled, and for the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. What's going on? I asked, trying to mask my own growing anxiety. He hesitated, glancing at my mother. If we're caught, this time, we may not survive to try again. The more I uncovered, the clearer it became that my awakening wasn't just an experiment. It was part of a grander plan. A plan tied to the time loops, to the magistral, and to my family's relentless pursuit of immortality. But as I delved deeper into their secrets, one question haunted me. Could the price of eternity ever truly be worth it? Rose, my mother said, interrupting my thoughts as she pointed to the jellyfish hologram shimmering above the console. Do you see this? It's the key. I leaned closer, examining the pulsating creature. A jellyfish? Yes, she whispered. Turritopsis dornii, the immortal jellyfish. Its cells can revert to their earliest form, starting life anew. We've replicated this process in your blood. My pulse quickened. You mean, I have this ability now? To an extent, my father cut in. But it's dangerous. Your neurons are connected to these rejuvenated cells, and the synchronization isn't perfect. The process is still unstable. So that's why the time loops happen. I asked, my voice shaking. Because of me? My mother placed a hand on my shoulder. Not just you. It's all of us. We're tied to you now, through this experiment. That's why we have to be careful. The magistral cannot find out what we've done. I took a step back, the weight of their words pressing down on me. So what happens now? My father exchanged a look with my mother. We fix the synchronization, he said. And we make sure this time, we don't repeat our mistakes. After realizing that the quest for immortality was my doing, I felt a crushing sense of responsibility. Everything, the time loops, the creation of Eve's algorithm, and my fragmented existence between past, present, and future, was tied to me. And yet, I didn't understand why. Why was I traveling through time? Why was I the one turning it back? One night, as I sat on my bed, the weight of it all seemed too much to bear. My neural AI assistant chimed in softly. Rose, your silence will not change the questions you seek answers to. Yeah, thanks for that, I muttered, burying my head in my hands. But what if the answers make everything worse? The AI paused as if considering my words. Sometimes, the act of seeking is more important than the answers themselves. Easy for you to say, I replied bitterly. You don't have a family trapped in a time loop, or a future built on something you can't even remember doing. I decided to escape, to stay in the present of 2024, where things were quieter, even if only for a little while. I didn't have the courage to face the future again, so I stayed home, feigning illness. My family was worried but didn't push too hard, perhaps sensing I needed space. It was during one of those quiet, self-imposed days of isolation that a knock on the door broke the stillness. "Rose, it's Sam. You've been missing school. And Mrs. Carter asked me to check on you," my classmate called out. I groaned internally. Of all people, why him? I opened the door reluctantly, giving him my best "I'm fine, now leave" look. Sam held up a psychology textbook. "You left this in the library last month. Thought you might need it." "Oh," I said, taking it quickly. "Thanks." He lingered, peering past me into the house. "Are you okay? You don't look sick." "I'm fine. Just tired," I replied curtly, hoping he'd take the hint and leave. But then he added, "Oh, by the way, my little brother borrowed this book and found some of your sketches inside. He thought they were really cool and posted them online." My heart dropped. "What?" "Yeah, he thought they were like concept art for a webtoon or something. You're really good, by the way." I stared at him, trying to process what he'd just said. Those weren't ordinary sketches. They were blueprints, drawings of devices from the future, designs for Eve's algorithm, and fragments of the immortality equation. "Sam, you need to get them down," I said quickly, my voice trembling.